what is the point of getting people in if they can't retain them? It's a never-ending churn at that point. And so that focus on what happens after the first sale can be so powerful to the bottom line.
Influential and thought-provoking minds in marketing, sales, and business. The Business of Marketing Podcast.
Welcome again to the Business of Marketing. I'm A. Lee Judge. Sometimes when I'm browsing LinkedIn, I come across a post or a personality that makes me say, I want to talk to that person, or a conversation with this person would be valuable for other marketers to hear. So today's guest represents one of those cases where, I've been talking about some similar things about B2B growth and building revenue teams, and I found her insights on LinkedIn relatable and valuable. So I want to share her with you today. Joining me today on the Business of Marketing is Jennifer Jurgens. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Lee, how are you?
Doing great. So glad to have you. And, I'll get into your background a bit in a moment, but let's just jump right into some topics here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite topics to share with marketers is to help them understand the importance of revenue metrics over marketing metrics. Mm-hmm. So what have you been sharing lately along those lines of helping marketers setting revenue goals over marketing metrics?
Well, I just did this presentation with the Small Business Association of Michigan, and I called it the Revenue First Marketing Plan. In my career, which has been in and out of marketing and sales organizations for just a few years, I always found that marketing's budget was the first thing to be cut in any kind of recession or uncertainty, which we know a little bit about right now. Mm-hmm. And that just drove me crazy because marketing is as important as sales, as is customer success in that end-to-end revenue cycle. The problem being the C-suite, the leadership team, doesn't see it if marketers don't talk about the things that matter to the C-suite. And nothing matters more than revenue. And so just giving marketers, even in small businesses, the language, right? And maybe a couple of templates to start with. Yeah, but where is the company looking to make revenue this year? Where are we going to get margin? Where is our capacity? Before they start going into, the latest and greatest in marketing tactics. And that was really, I think it reframed the conversation for a lot of the young marketers in the room because they had never thought about their position that way.
Interesting. I think probably the speech that I was giving when you and I met, I think it was a B2B marketing profs.
Yep.
I kind of impromptu came on stage and said, you're in the right room because this is a room where if you're a marketer, we can help you keep your job. And that was predicated on, let's talk about some ways we can talk revenue instead of talking marketing. Yeah. So when you talk to marketers, go ahead.
Marketing is a value add, not overhead. And I feel like it's been my mission to prove that over and over again.
That's our connection. We have this mission. We feel this passion to help marketers speak a language that helps them have credibility in the organization. So to what you said earlier, when it's Q1 or Q2 and we see marketing budgets getting slashed, you and I know what's going to happen come Q4. Mm-hmm. Right? Panic. Sales is wondering what happened.
Where are all the leads? Absolute panic.
Mm-hmm. And then we get asked to run a fire drill in November, and it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Let's talk about marketing in a specific area. And I know you have some background on this too. When it comes to like content marketing, we know generally marketing as a whole is a long game. So when you're talking to these marketers, how do you help them gain language to convey the importance of marketing being a long game as opposed to advertising or coin operated quarter in, dollar out?
Dollar out. Well, I guess can back it up a little bit, especially with AI and the massive amounts of content that's being generated right now. The first step goes all the way back to that revenue first goal that I was talking about, where we sit with the marketing team and the sales leadership team to say, where do you expect the revenue to come from this year? And that's in terms of customer segmentation. So macro, micro, What are their, and then individually pains, gains, triggers, right? And we'll sit there and we'll go through, where do you want the revenue to come from this year? We'll try to get them to narrow that down, right? To like 4 to 6 audiences. Because we all know if everybody can buy your product, no one's going to buy it. It doesn't solve their problem. And once we do that, I throw out this question. Okay, here's you could sell to all these people. You could market to all these people. Here's $100 for your advertising budget. How are you going to split it up? And so from that, then we take, and it's a battle. You'd be surprised at how long that question can take in a workshop. Do you know what I mean? Because they're like, whoa, only $100? I'm like, yes, $100. And then we take that focus area, right? And I think that's the key. The key is focus. Then we take that piece forward and start doing that customer journey. And typically what we find, one, the answer is not always in net new. The answer could be in retention. The answer could be in cross-sell and upsell. All kinds of things where the problem could be. The problem could be bunch of proposals have been sent and nobody's buying. Okay, now marketing, your biggest opportunity is to lean in with content at the bottom of the funnel, maybe not the top. And so when you talk about the content long game, if we find that is their biggest bottleneck, only then is that where we'll start. But I had a client leave us after 4 months, and he said, "You didn't generate any leads." And I said, "How long is your sales cycle?" And he said, "I don't know."
That's
you know what?
I thought he was going to say 8 months, but he didn't even know.
He didn't even know, and I guarantee you, it's a gigantic play. So it's a long sales cycle.
I think we're agency owners. We've been on both sides of the table. We've seen these kind of horror stories. Either we're working inside the company trying to fight for the marketing team's budget, or we're the agency trying to help out a company and the leadership doesn't get it.
Right.
And I had a recent situation similar to that where they wanted ROI in 3 months. They wanted a content program and a social media program, and they wanted to show ROI in 3 months. And they asked us for a whole suite of services. And I said, well, our whole suite includes content creation, social media marketing, but none of that's going to show you that kind of ROI. You might get a lucky hit, but that's not what it's designed for. So we said, you know what? We'll give you a strategy in 3 months. We'll examine what you're doing. We'll understand your target audience, your sales cycle, who you're trying to reach, what kind of content. We'll even give you some samples of content that can reach them. But we're not going to promise you ROI in 3 months because their sales cycle was at least a year.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there was no way. Unless there was like this huge batch of people right at the bottom of the funnel who weren't, stepping for some reason. But that's what is the rule? 95% of your market is not in the market. At the time you reach out.
Exactly.
That's impossible.
If you're a marketer struggling to create content that's truly unique to your brand, here's the key. Your experts and executives are your most valuable content assets. Conversational content like videos and podcasts featuring your team stand out above all other content. So instead of creating content that sounds just like your competition, start leveraging the unique voices inside your company. Thought leaders and authentic conversations build credibility and engagement. At Content Monster, we specialize in remote content production, meaning we coach your people to be comfortable on camera, then we capture and produce high-quality videos and podcasts featuring your team and customers. No need for expensive production crews, long production plans, or complex setups. Want to see how it works? Visit contentmonster.com today to learn more.
And it also makes me think about when you said that those few people who are at the bottom of the funnel who are ready, that means that your content marketing should be targeted to all levels of the funnel, even for those who are about to be tipped over into being a customer. They may need that one more video, that one more white paper, or that one more social post to say, you know what, this is company I want to do business with. So content throughout the funnel makes sense. Which leads me to my next question, the funnel.
Yes.
Some marketers are trying to abandon the idea of the funnel, but in reality, it's just a way for us to visualize how do we go from a massive audience that we may not know much about down to people who are interested, down to customers. It's a many to a few. That's the funnel in essence. But I think when it was developed, people thought, well, the funnel is linear. They go straight through the funnel from awareness straight down. That may have been the case at one point, but it certainly isn't now. Now, as I always say, it's the customer's journey, not ours. And we can't craft where they're going to be. We can only be there for them when they reach the stage they choose to be in. So I know you speak a lot on that. So tell me what your thoughts are about today's customer journey and how, as marketers, we can be there where we should be when we can be along that journey.
Well, on that journey, somebody once said, I'm terrible at attributing these quotes, but all models are wrong, but some are useful. And so, like visuals are fantastic. And I lived on that, that top down funnel forever until recently, where we've turned it on its side and and gone into the bow tie world. Because what I've been able to do from the bow tie perspective is, I think it, for whatever reason, does left to right seem to be easier to go back and forth than go up and down?
Well, because up and down seems finite.
It does.
Left and right, you can understand it going up and down and left and right at the same time. The movement's different.
It's a movement, yeah. Our core principle here is we exist to prove predictable business growth. In order to do that, we have to find, I have a supply chain background, and basically what we're doing is we're applying lean principles to the sales and marketing process, because it is a process. What do we know about processes? Continuous improvement. Or as I like to say, the marketing is never done. Nor is it a switch. It's a dial, right? And so as we look at, where these people are in their journey, they're moving all throughout that funnel at all times. And what from a content perspective, if we can identify your biggest, I keep saying bottleneck, but do you know what I mean? Where are people getting hung up? Well, they're getting hung up right here. Why? Okay, sales, what is going on in this particular situation? What are the objections? What are the product features? What are the problems that marketing can lean into and help solve that? And it might be that they have to go 3 steps backwards in the funnel to become more educated on things versus being given a buy now offer, because that's not the problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so by doing it in order of priority based on the biggest bottleneck, what can we solve first that moves the needle the most, which will then cause a new bottleneck, by the way, that we can then go and fix that one, and then we'll go over here and we'll fix the next one. Does that make sense? And I think it helps them see the funnel not as that linear progression.
Hey marketers, imagine harnessing the power of conversations to elevate your brand's authority and visibility. With Content Monster's podcast production services, you create a platform to connect with executives and subject matter experts, fostering relationships that position your brand as a thought leader. Our expert team collaborates with you to craft engaging podcasts, which can be repurposed into videos and social media content, maximizing your reach across platforms. Don't let content creation challenges hold you back. Partner with Content Monster to transform your marketing strategy and reach more customers. Visit contentmonster.com today to get started.
Here's what I want to do. I've actually got your funnel here, and for the listeners, we're going to talk you through these, but I want to talk about 2 of it. We both have a funnel in the middle of our presentations we've done lately. So I'll describe mine and I'll describe yours, and we'll put them both on the screen during the video version of the podcast because they speak to a similar problem. My funnel basically starts out with your large awareness, and it shows your customers, a large number of potential customers coming on top of the funnel. But then, even though it's shaped like a traditional top to bottom funnel, I have these side doors. The customer comes in, you think they're at a certain place, maybe they're heading towards consideration stage, boom, they pop out of a side door. And then hopefully they'll come back into the top of the funnel again. And then they might go a little bit further, become a prospect. They're closer, they're at consideration stage, deep consideration, then they disappear again. They may go out and find a buying committee. So as a business, you think, oh, they're gone. We haven't seen them in a while. They could be just going out to get procurement involved, which would be a great thing, right? They're not necessarily in your funnel visually, but they're out there. They're bringing in accounting and procurement, maybe even legal. That means, as I told one of my coworkers yesterday, that means that we're the only customer they're looking for, the only vendor they're looking at the time, because you won't go out and talk to procurement and legal unless you found your vendor. So sometimes silence is good. And then they go back into the funnel again, and then eventually they get to the bottom, they survive and become a customer. And that's where I want to pivot to yours. We're used to the left side, attract, nurture, convert, and engage. So start in the middle and guide us through the rest of it.
Well, that piece right there in the center, that first sale is so valuable. Because we've learned something, we've solved a problem, we've gained some level of trust. Now, the opportunity, especially I think in B2B, which I feel is less transactional and more relational, is to continue to be there and to continue to solve for that customer. I don't think I'm alone in saying that keeping a customer is much easier than finding a new one. And some of the metrics, I believe it was out of a Gartner study I read, that said that for every dollar invested in the back, that right side of that funnel, you're looking at a 4 to 6x return versus the 1-to-1 that you get when you're trying to get net new. And so once, if you've got the right segmentation, if you've got salespeople who are giving you that valuable data that you need as marketers to understand, what did we solve? What didn't we solve? Or perhaps we're a SaaS company, or we're leasing and there's a renewal opportunity, or there's it's copiers and we can sell them our paper or our maintenance, that cross-sell opportunity. When we gather information at that first sale, we should be creating the segmentation for the back half, right? Where we can continue to drip, connect, solve all throughout that. And otherwise, this is one of my favorite things. I think our head of revenue operations said this to me the other day. He's like, we're just pouring leads into a leaky bucket.
Yes.
Right? Like, what is the point of getting people in if they can't retain them?
Yes.
It's a never-ending churn at that point. And so that focus on what happens after the first sale can be so powerful to the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And so I love analyzing that. And I love looking in there to see what's been missed.
I love this. So I do want to learn about your company. It's called One Bold Step, and I love that. I think when we spoke earlier, you mentioned sort of a pivot you maybe have been making. So if you can, tell us about the company and maybe a little bit about the pivot.
We started out about 6 years ago, pretty well focused on marketing, improving return on marketing investment. And as that became more and more difficult, thank you, zero-click marketing, and attribution sort of losing its shine for me. Thank you, Rand, for that, because I was with him, and then I was with him again. Really just at the end of the day, it is a process, right? Sales and marketing is a process. And when we look at it that way, and we look at it like we would any other process or process improvement, all we're trying to do is to get it to work faster and better. And so what we're doing in this big pivot is we're applying lean principles to the end-to-end sales and marketing process. And that meant we had to go deeper into sales. We had to go deeper into customer success than we were initially, and really get involved in the entire optimization of the end-to-end revenue cycle. And so that has, we've pivoted there probably in the last 2 years or so, where at the end of the day, we succeed when our clients increase revenue. That's it. That's the golden KPI. Now, long sales cycle, I might look to pipeline to show pipeline improvement. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not about credit. It's about reducing waste and speeding things up. More throughput in the revenue cycle, right?
So when you talk to executives about that, because we're in the same boat here, we know what is true. We know that marketing isn't something you just turn off and turn back on like advertising. I recently talked and written about how, when there's a recession, the companies who keep marketing through the recession maintain better and don't have to recover. And the ones who don't market through the recession have a long line to try to recover.
Yes.
So that's some powerful numbers we can show based on history from the Depression to the last recession. We can show that historically. But what are some other things you might use when you're convincing a client, a business that, hey, you don't want to stop marketing right now. We may not have hard numbers to prove it. We just know historically this is true. Without hard numbers, our job is tough, but at the same time, there are things we just know to be true.
Well, I go in with setting expectations very plainly, very clearly. So the first year that you work with a growth agency, if you got a 1x return, 1 to 2, I'd be thrilled that you could tie, I'm going to put in air quotes, directly back to a marketing lead source or whatever, right? 1 to 2x would be fantastic. And we call that a foundational year. Foundation. So that lends, I think, really well to that conversation about being recession proof or preparing now. And I like to talk about building the machine now. Let's build the machine, foundational. So that then in year 2, we're looking at incremental growth. We're still doing a lot of experimentation, right? There's a lot of testing and a lot that goes into that. What's working, what's not, what dials can we turn, what levers can we pull? And when you're aligned, it's so important to be aligned with sales and to understand the capacity that you have and where the margin is. Because when the market shifts, if you have that machine in place, boy, can you really lean into wherever the market has gone. Year 2, I'm thrilled with a 4x. Year 3 is really where we start to see that exponential growth. And I think CEOs, COOs, CFOs appreciate the idea of process improvement and a machine. They can also understand the investment in a machine, just like they would on the shop floor or anywhere else. We're going to build this machine, and then we're going to be able to react more quickly and more wisely to the different market conditions that are happening around you. And that has been really effective. And we don't hold our clients to long-term, hard, contracts. We like to be that dial. Let's turn it up, let's turn it down. How much return do you want to see out of this investment? Well, I want to see $5 million. Well, how much are you going to invest? $100,000.
We thought it was organic. We thought it was not going to cost anything.
Let's come up with something that is reasonable, that is, in alignment with the incremental growth you want to see from investing in this machine. Year 1, year 2, year 3. And let's get to work. So I am really, like you said, there's no single thing. It's all of the things. I think it's being able to control the things, test the things, measure the things, and pivot when things happen externally to the organization.
Wonderful.
So hopefully that helps without any kind of visual there, but
yeah, well, that's a mic drop.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because they said I could ask you one question.
Okay. Fair
is
enough.
that when we talk about sharing sales insights with marketing, have you come across, created, documented, basically the best systems, or I'm going to call it a protocol of communication between sales and marketing that you find to be the most successful versus marketing is intruding on the sales meeting or sales is intruding on the marketing meeting? But is there what is the correct and most valuable use of everyone's time that you've found?
Well, good question. In terms of correct or most valuable, I think it comes down to the culture of that organization. And I say that because some organizations, if they're open to marketing, attending sales meetings, then it's no effort for sales other than opening the door. Like, let market sit and listen, right? And marketers can hear what the objections are and they can craft better content because of that. The other part would be if they developed a culture of helping sales document more of what happens after speaking to a customer. Now, that could be a harder internal sale because you're asking sales to do something. I once had a salesperson say, Lee, that's administrative work. I'm not going to do administrative work. And I said, okay, well, if you won't do the administrative work of telling us what's working when you visit the field, don't get upset when marketing brings you leads that don't match what you want to find in the field.
Yeah.
So if the culture is, if management approves or supports rather, that sales must document what they see in the field, then marketers can go and get it from there. They can get it from the CRM, they can get it from the marketing automation platform. And I think the other thing is to develop a communication so that both teams own both systems, so that your salespeople feel ownership in the marketing automation platform. All you got to do there is show them how much you know about their customer, about their prospect, because it is always eye-opening for a salesperson to go, wait a minute, they were on the website, or that they filled out a form, that they were at the event last week or webinar. How could I not know that? And it builds I would think it could be an embarrassing moment for a salesperson to go on a call and talk to a customer, and the customer knows more than they do about their product.
Yeah.
Right? That could be very embarrassing. So I think that's almost a fear tactic. Like, you don't want to be on a call and your customer just left your website, or the customer went to an event or webinar today and you don't know about it. That's not good for you. And so that makes sales start to buy in a little bit faster.
Yeah. You're making me think of like the questions I would ask the sales leader in order for them to go, maybe I should invite marketing in.
Yes.
Like what is, I see that I'll say proposals sent stage in the CRM is really full. What objections are you having?
When they say, we delivered these leads, but you said they're not the right leads. How are we supposed to know that?
What's wrong with them?
How are we supposed to know? Yeah, what's wrong with them? Tell us. I'll tell you what, invite us to the meeting next week and we'll improve if you let us sit on the meetings to learn what you're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So having that, I think the key is in the approach.
It's the approach. So tell me before we go, how can we contact you? What's the best thing? Something you want to mention about anything? Go for it.
Well, I love the conversations I'm having on LinkedIn. I'm really enjoying it. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I love feedback on the posts that I'm doing, the articles that we're sharing. I would love that. You can also visit us at the boldstep.com. We have a whole new short video series that's rolling out about our process. And like you and I discussed, I'd really like to do more educating around this topic. There's a lot that people can do on their own, right? And then just sort of leaning into consultants and expertise as needed. But going back to what we said first, darn it, marketing is not the t-shirt and coffee cup department.
It is not.
We are value add, not overhead. And I want to help people prove that. I want to help them prove it.
We're talking now because I love that we're on this same crusade to align marketing and sales and help marketing make that difference. So again, thanks Jen for joining me. And for those who are listening, yeah, it was. I look forward to it again sometime. In fact, in person next time.
Yes, please.
So for those who are listening to the podcast, if you want to see Jennifer and I, video of the podcast and others are available in the podcast section of contentmonster.com. Catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Marketing podcast, a show brought to you by ContentMonster.com, the producer of B2B digital marketing content. Show notes can be found on ContentMonster.com, as well as aleejudge.com.